for welcoming speakers here and hosting this program at Indraprastha College. We are running slightly behind schedule, so I'll be as brief as possible. Just a word on how this Ahimsa Day idea came up. In about 2003, I was teaching English to a group of mainly Japanese and Korean students working with the film Gandhi by Attenborough. And gradually they started thinking about how today they could make a difference. And this idea of calling for the 30th of January, the very day of the assassination of the Mahatma, to become Ahimsa, World Ahimsa Day came up in that classroom. And it was a coincidence that in November 2003, Purushottam Agrawal was also in Paris, and we had discussed this idea, and he had encouraged us. And gradually this idea went round very slowly, and was also finally taken up after some persuasion by the Indian National Congress. And in 2007 they called for the United Nations International Non-Violence Day, although they preferred the 2nd of October. And thanks to that effort, it went through the United Nations General Assembly, and the 2nd of October is also, in fact, officially the United Nations Non-Violence Day now. But we shall continue, with that earlier idea also, treating the 30th of January or sometimes the 29th when it's a weekend, with this series, this lecture series. So we began last year on the 30th of January at the India International Center. And in fact, you can listen to, or even if you're not there, you can, on the internet, you could get to that video and listen to that 1-hour report on those discussions last year. If you look for, with the keywords, a future for Ahimsa on the internet, you'll easily find that video, and you can hear Professor Krishna Kumar and Dilip, who was there last year, and Nandita, who were the 3 speakers last year. So that's why we're calling this Ahimsa Day Lectures II, and we continue to see like that day changing, the site. I think the best introduction to the speakers, I think most of you know them, would be what they have to say. So I would just like to thank all of them. Dr. Purushottam Agrawal, who's a leading writer and critic, both in Hindi and English. Amita, Baviskar, a sociologist who has been especially working on questions of food sovereignty and ecological and developmental questions. And Dilip, Simeon, who is a well-known historian who has been working a lot on questions and theories of revolutionary violence and non-violence, and now I hear a novelist. So I would just stop there, and thank you for coming.
On this solemn occasion, but cannot be but delighted that I'm in the midst of friends. I'm humbled by this request to preside over such luminaries, and I think, as Akshay pointed out, the best introductions would be what they have to say. The father of the nation would have chuckled at some of the topics that are up for discussion today, and he had a sense of humor. And I think it's befitting that on his, on the anniversary of his death, we should be celebrating his life and his preferences. With that, I hand the floor over to Dr. Amita, Baviskar, sociologist, who will be talking on Gandhi's food environment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Babu and Akshay. And I'm honored to speak here on this day in memory of Mahatma Gandhi. I'm not a scholar of philosophy or history, so I can't claim to be able to discuss Gandhi's ideas from those perspectives. But what I do know a little bit is the issue of India's environment and development, the cultural politics around these questions in our country. And I've been more recently trying to address these issues of environment and development by looking at changing food practices. Because food brings together these ideas of who we are, what we do, what we want to become in the future, and has profound implications for what is going on in our cities, in our countryside, practices like eating out, how we grow our food, how it comes to us. And I thought I would use this opportunity to link these questions back to Gandhi's own concerns with food and environment, which come out very clearly both in his writings as well as in his life's work. And I should say that these are very preliminary thoughts, and I hope that presenting them here will provide me with some clarity and will hopefully provide you with some food for thought as well. So I began first of all by thinking about Gandhi's best known ideas, the notion of Swaraj, of self-rule, as something to be gained through ahimsa, non-violence, and satyagraha, the idea of militant non-violence, emphasizing truth. The idea of sarvodaya, or selfless service, and swadeshi, or self-sufficiency. But in this quest for Swaraj, or self-rule, Gandhi emphasized that reforming the self was an essential precondition for changing the world. And the struggle with the self involved a constant self-examination of one's thoughts and deeds, striving to control the senses and to channel them towards the pursuit of higher goals. A striving that is best described by the title of Gandhiji's autobiography, My Experiments with Truth. And for Gandhi, disciplining the mind also called for disciplining the body. In the idea of Swaraj, the self or the swa that Gandhiji talks about is, that's being referred to, is both a collective self as well as an individual self. It's all of society and it's each individual person. It's also both mind as well as body. And it's only by changing the self, the collective self, the individual self, the self that involves the mind as well as the body. And by changing the self by living and practicing truth within oneself, Gandhiji believed, that we can aspire to change the world. So for Gandhiji then, Swaraj as a notion was a metabolic principle about disciplining the body and how the body related to nature, as well as a principle for political action. And if you look at Gandhi's own practices, his concern with celibacy, his struggles around celibacy, fasting, different diets about which he wrote a great deal, not just in his diaries but in his letters to people, his concern with naturopathy, both Indian notions of Ayurveda as well as German ideas